Can I tell you how James and I went from barely making our $1,600 a month mortgage to getting our dream house? If I can, if you give me permission to do that, I think you're gonna get something out of this. Now, this isn't like a business opportunity or some sort of a sales funnel or any of that. This is simply a marriage hack. Okay? James and I have been together as of next month, will be 24 years, and married as of next month, also 19 years. So over the last 2.5 decades, we have had all the challenges that quarter of a century union could give you. All the losses, all the fears, all the doubts, all the questions, one foot in, one foot out, you name it, we've had it. But recently, well, as recent as 4 years ago, when we looked back at our success and all of our lessons, we realized that, you know what? It just makes sense that we've gone through this. And at the end of this video, it's going to make sense to you too. So if you are finding yourself in a really crappy situation where you're like, man, I want to keep my marriage, I want to stay with my person, but we just can't continue like this. I want to encourage you to kind of tune out all the coaches and gurus out there who are teaching that every man is a narcissist, which isn't true. Only about 0.5% of people are diagnosed narcissists. Now, I don't know how many are non-diagnosed, but not there are not that many men that are narcissists. We all have narcissistic tendencies, by the way, but very, very, very few of us are actual narcissists. So I really want to encourage you to hear me out. If I have your ear, here it goes. About 4 years ago, James and I sat down and we said, you know what? This is where we are. I'm in trouble. You're in trouble. Our marriage is in trouble. We can't go on like this anymore. This is what I think about you. This is what I think about myself. This is what I'm willing to give up. This is what I'm not willing to give up. And we really sat down and did an inventory of where we both believed that we were. So now when you are able to just do that, hey, where are we right now? Just understanding, hey, where we are right now is not good. And that's just it, right? Just look at this. You can sit down and write everything out and say, okay, this is where I am in this marriage. This is where I believe you are in this marriage. This is how I feel about this marriage. This is what I believe or feel about you. This is what I believe or feel about myself. This is what I believe or feel about our environment, where we live, the jobs we have, everything that we have accumulated together and gotten to this point. Yeah, this is from my vantage point. This is what I'm seeing. That alone, having that exercise alone, and being able to just allow the other person to process that, to process the truth, right? Then you're light years ahead of just about most couples. Right? So now that was the first thing that we dared to say. And that took a lot of courage for both of us to say, this is what's happening. At the time when we decided to do this, it was really my decision. I was working for Tony Robbins as his platinum coach and business results trainer. And if you've heard of Tony Robbins, then you know that he has these events, and I remember going to these events and I see all these people all the way in the front row, and I'm like, my marriage doesn't even belong in the room, let alone in the front of the room. So something within me started to brew. So whatever your event is, something is starting to brew. There's a reason you're watching this video. Now, the next thing that we did is we really understood, hey, how did we get here? How did we get here? Why are we here? Without blaming, without necessarily throwing anybody under the bus, so to speak. But how did we get here? When we looked at our history, you have these two immature people who got together from completely different environments, James grew up in America. America is rather individualistic, right? People think, me, 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 and how does this affect me? How is this gonna apply to me? And I liked that when I started dating him. Because I didn't really exist, so I'm like, oh, I like this me. How about me? So that was one of the first pieces of attraction there. But when but he also was raised by a young teenage couple. His parents were 17 or 18 when they had him. So, and they did the best that they could with what they had, but his views on themselves or their partner or their spouse or the world around them, it was pretty screwed. It was pretty skewed, I will say that, and then you can say the other word if you want to. And I was raised by a single mother whose husband had died before her kids. I mean, I was almost 3 and my older brother was 8. So, and I grew up with the belief that we're so much better off that he's dead, because if he didn't die, it would have been us. So I believe that men were from the devil. Men were abusers and alcoholics and cheaters and all the negative things you can think about a person. So you put these two kids together and you're not going to have a great, healthy relationship. And then we saw, okay, well, this is what we brought into our relationship. And then we co-created more of that. And understanding that, hey, this isn't necessarily your fault that we ended up here. It isn't necessarily my fault that we ended up here. We're kind of like, these things were given to us, but it is our responsibility to change it going forward. So when we understood, hey, you know what, this is where we are, and this is how we got here, and we had empathy towards each other, we were able to then say, you know what, where do we want to go together? And we decided, you know what, based on where we are and how we got here, we don't want to divorce, but we don't want to have a crappy marriage either. So, we got kind of squished under that pressure. I'm not going anywhere, and neither are you. And we're not gonna have any more sleepless nights, scream fests, none of that anymore. So what do we want, right? Where do we want to go? And I encourage you to do the same thing. These are just the steps that have helped us, and I believe they will help you as well. And then when we realized, okay, this is where we want to go together, united. There's no more me, right? Because again, having grown up in a different environment, I grew up in Bosnia, which is very, very community oriented. To me, everything is us. The moment we become married, it's us. And I made it clear that is the marriage that I want to have. There's no you and me, there's us, and all of my crap is your crap and the other way around, and we are gonna have to figure this out. There is no, oh, those are your feelings, you figure it out and then come back. None of that. We figure everything out together. And it got us thinking, if we're going to figure everything together, then if I dump all of my crap on you, then you're not gonna have the energy or the willingness or the ability to open up to me, and then I'm gonna wonder, hey, where are you? Where is it? So we really decided that everything is an open book. Transparency is the best policy, and so forth. So, mind you, this isn't perfect. You are going to, especially in the beginning, make mistakes. And then we decided, you know what? How do we get there, right? How do we get there? Well, what do we need? Do we need a whole set of values, right? For me, the values are transparency, right? I don't need your honesty after the fact. I need your transparency. I need to know at all times what is happening. So a whole new set of values had to be established that we both either agree on and subscribe to or respect about the other person, right? But now it's, hey, if this is important to you, it's pretty damn important to me too. So I may not hold that value in my heart, but you are extremely valuable to me, so I'm gonna make sure that I abide by those values. And do we need to move, which we did, by the way? Do we need a whole new set of friends, right? Which we did? Do we need to change jobs, start businesses, which we did? So what is it that we need to get there? So this is what real work is, right? It's like, what do we need? And then I would be lying if I said, you know what, everything was perfect, but it wasn't. Because now the final step here is, hey, we are going to go into flashbacks. You know, most of your beliefs are developed between the ages of 0 and 6. So you learned at the age of 3 or 4 what men are, women are, I am, the world is. So that stuff is really hard to unlearn, right? So you spend the rest of your life repeating that pattern, or you spend the rest of your life undoing that pattern. But how do we stand within these guidelines of what we just described that we need, right? So these little micro steps, these daily things that nobody gets praise for us. For example, it was creating our pledge. Every single night before we go to sleep, we have a pledge that we say to each other, which is really the words that are the opposite of how we believe we were treated earlier in the relationship while we were having a hard time paying our mortgage. Do we need to say certain words? Do we need to avoid certain words, right? Do we need to talk to God more often, which we definitely did? What do we need to do when we get triggered, right? When a flashback occurs, instead of dumping it all out on the other person, what do we do? And so establishing those little micro habits that fulfill those big how-tos, right? And then once we got a hang of that, once we started feeling really good, and we're like, man, I am falling back in love with you, and I like being around you. I feel safe around you, right? Then once we did that, then we established a mutual mission, right? And that is something that without a mutual mission, something like anything, what I teach my clients is, I don't know, depending on what your values are, right? Start an orphanage. So for some people, that's way too much, right? But I don't know, start a puppy rescue, do something so big, so much bigger that there's no way you can abandon your person when they're serving that thing, right? So, which is really for us, we decided going forward, we just want to serve, we just want to give to all the people who are going through what we have gone through together. And when you do that, when you establish that mission, you got to keep growing, because you can only take others as far as you yourself are willing to go. So we have to keep going. We have to keep getting better. And that mission, that mutual mission, is the glue. Let me know what you think about this video. And if you have any questions, if you want me to go any deeper into it. All right.